Hi, I'm Henry from Construction Youth Trust, and I'm here today talking to Luke Fay from Tree Work, who's going to talk a bit about his job. Luke, what is your job?
Hi, Henry. I'm Luke Fay from Treework Environmental Practice. I'm Managing Director of Treework Environmental Practice, and we're an arboricultural consultancy practice. And I am an arboricultural consultant. So what is an arboricultural consultant? Everybody is asking. Well, arboriculture is really the science of trees. So we are tree consultants. We are experts in trees, and we provide advice about trees in all kinds of contexts. For landowners like local authorities and large landowners, we quite often provide advice on managing the risks from trees. But for the construction sector and also within the stages that come before construction, design and planning applications, we provide advice on trees to support the organizations who are involved in that work to, one, retain good trees and make sure that they are properly protected and are viable and sustainable once the construction process is finished, and two, to help them to get planning permission and design well around trees.
So why are trees important generally to our wider life?
So once you start asking this question, and if you ask this question of anybody, you start to find that people build relationships from very early in their life with trees. People will have a favorite tree from their childhood, tree that they climbed, or maybe the horse chestnut tree that they picked conkers from and for conker fights. But then when we start to look at the benefits of trees to society, then we start to see real tangible benefits in relation to the ecosystem services that trees provide. For instance, they capture carbon, and they sequester carbon. They hold carbon within their stems and branches and within their roots. And so they are recognized as a major part of the solution to reducing carbon, to the problem of reducing carbon to address climate change. They also intercept rainwater as it comes down, and so slow the progress of that water to the ground, and so slow down the impact of rain for flooding. And we've seen all kinds of problems in recent years where development has resulted in less permeable ground and lower levels of vegetation, resulting in higher impact of rain storms, causing flooding. They provide habitat for all kinds of organisms, from large organisms such as bats, birds, right the way down to fungi, bacteria, and one of our current nemesis is viruses, and within their interaction within the soil and also within the air, there's a whole biosphere that is dependent and interdependent on trees. So they're really essential to the biodiversity in for the whole planet. There are so many other ways that trees are important. There are studies that show that when people are convalescing from illness, if they can see green space and trees, they recover more quickly. They take out particulates from the air and so improve air quality. absolutely immense number of areas that trees provide incredible benefits to our world, and are increasingly recognized for these benefits.
Oh, brilliant. I can see you've got a nice looking apple tree behind you. But what is your favorite tree?
So I'll tell you about this apple tree in a moment, but my favorite tree, when you're an arboricultural consultant, when you are, for instance, at parties and people ask you what you do and you say, I'm a tree expert, generally they're stumped for words after that. There's not much interaction, but the most normal question is, so what's your favorite tree? And I have a favorite tree, and my favorite tree is an ancient hornbeam that is in Hatfield Forest, which is a medieval hunting ground just to the south of Stansted Airport. It is managed now by the National Trust, and it used to be, well, it still is, has deer roaming through it, and it has rides running through it where medieval noble people would hunt deer. This is now a young tree that is also maybe 1,000 years old, and it has moved 3 meters to the north of where it started, and so it's moved over the last 1,000 years by 3 meters, and actually that could have happened 10 times before. Maybe it's moved 30 meters in the last 10,000 years. Who knows? So it's a fabulous tree, and it's a story. And so that's my favorite tree.
So what is your favorite part of your day at work?
There's no single favorite part of my day, and my days are really varied. For instance, I will maybe having a Zoom meeting with you. I may be surveying trees on site. I may be working with our AutoCAD and GIS team to produce plans and schedules, or meeting with all our consultants, or in meetings with diverse design teams and other land managers and tree managers. So it's not one particular part of my day that's best. It is the variety of all the things that I get to do and all the people I get to interact with. I absolutely love that. Yeah, and it really brings great pleasure to me. The Treezilla website, which is a citizen science open access website, contains a lot of tree information. Most of the London boroughs have provided all of their tree information there, and it generates the CAVAT value and the iTree ecosystem service values for those trees, and you can see it, and you can look at the trees in your borough and see what their values are individually and as a whole. And currently there's just over 1 million trees recorded on there, there's a new app and a revised updated website being developed at the moment, and anyone would be able to add to that. You can just log on, become a member, create an account, and then add your own trees and view all the trees that there are.
So you mentioned root protection areas of trees, which are important to consider when carrying out building projects near trees. That brings us on to a school session that you helped us create, in which students are kind of simulating this in the classroom. Can you tell us about how you volunteered with us on that?
Absolutely. That was such a great project, Henry. And I just feel so fortunate to have been able to be involved with that. The principle was that you were looking for a structure for a maths lesson, and within the work that we do, when we're generating these root protection areas and providing these maps, it's maths. And what we do is we measure the stem diameter and we times that diameter by 12. And that gives us a radius for a circle. And then we then draw that circle, and that's the root protection area. The way of measuring the stem diameter is actually to measure the circumference of this diameter and divide it by pi. And so within that, there are three maths questions to do, and that circle gives you an area. Those circles represent the root protection areas. In principle, you cannot build within there. So what's left in that field is where you can build. That is your developable area. And so that process was developed by you guys at Construction Youth Trust into a maths lesson, which I thought was brilliant. And at the sessions that I attended, the children, the pupils, really got into it, and we saw some really good outcomes as well. And some of the pupils really took it all the way to then plotting on what they could develop within that area and considering all the considerations.
Yeah, and I think it was. I also really enjoyed those sessions because it really highlighted your career area and that of a tree officer in the minds of students who maybe hadn't heard of it before, which is obviously very important to kind of widen careers horizons and things like that. So we talked about going into schools, talking about arboricultural consultancy or being a tree officer. How would a young person at school go about trying to get into the sector?
There are several routes into arboriculture. One fairly standard route is to go into tree surgery in the first instance. There are various colleges around the UK who provide tree surgery courses, and there are apprenticeships now for tree surgery, and we're working currently with various bodies and with the Apprenticeship Institute to develop high-level apprenticeships for arboriculture. So that would be degree-level apprenticeships for arboriculture. So there's several routes in. Quite often, people will get some training, get a qualification, and then get a role mainly surveying trees and getting as much experience of surveying trees as they can.
So this is a career for someone who likes being outdoors, is interested in the environment and sustainability, doesn't mind a bit of maths. Anything else, would you say?
Okay, so I think that's absolutely right. People who come into this really enjoy generally being outdoors. They enjoy being amongst trees and looking at trees, and I think probably that's quite basic requirement.
Thanks for talking to us, Luke. It was great to learn more about arboriculture and working with trees.
Absolute pleasure, Henry. It's, I have to say, I think Construction Youth Trust is a really magnificent organisation, and I've really loved working with you guys.
Thanks, Luke. Hopefully see you again soon in a school.
Yes, indeed.